Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, May 18th, 2022. We have a brand new member tonight, and I think we need to get you in the mix first thing, so we can make sure you can weigh in on these. So Sarah, thank you very much for volunteering and for your time. And I don't know how much your arm was twisted, but I don't think you're covered. She's still in there. Yeah.
Just join me up front. Oh. Okay, welcome, Sarah. This is Sarah Bongiorno, and you've all met her here. Just for the record. Place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I, Sarah Bongiorno,
I, Sarah Bongiorno,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Grandview
the
Heights,
Charter and ordinances of the City of Grandview Heights,
and will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
and faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
as a member of the Planning Commission
as a member of the Planning
for the
Commission
City of Grandview Heights in Franklin County, Ohio.
for the City of Grandview Heights and Franklin County, Ohio.
Congratulations.
Thank
and
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Well, for the first time in a while, you can call a full roll call.
That's great. Commissioner Martinez,
Here.
Commissioner Gaskuski. Here. Commissioner Rourke.
Here.
Commissioner Holler.
Here.
Chairman Gentry.
Here.
Mayor Kearns.
Here.
Councilman Panzera.
Here.
Director Bashane.
Here.
Director Coker.
Thanks, Megan. We just received copies of the minutes from the last meeting, so you can take those home with you and review, and we'll vote on approving those at the next meeting. So anyone here this evening that may be speaking in front of the commission, can you please stand and raise your right hand? You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. No changes.
There are no changes.
All right. Let's kick things off with PC case number 5-2022. It is 1245 and 1249 Grandview Avenue. Applicant is Eric Brimbeck with a major site plan review request for an expansion of the theater into the adjacent barbershop.
Yes, thanks for having us. On the agenda, just to nitpick, it's ER, not RE, but anyways, that's just funny that we do.
Berm?
Brenbeck.
Wait.
No, theater on the bottom, theater, it should be ER,
theater, yeah.
RE.
Yeah.
It's just something we always make fun of because we're a movie theater, but that's what they used to do in the old days, so.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there, so. As you probably have seen, our objective or plan is to add another screen as well as add a pizza shop to the location. It's very similar if anybody's been to Studio 35. That's exactly what we did. The whole motivation about adding a screen is to ensure the continued viability of the movie theater. Having one screen is more and more difficult because of what the movie studios require of us to keep a movie for longer, all the rules. And what happens is the first week it's great, second week it's half of that, and third week is terrible. So what it will allow us to do is to move those movies that we have to keep over to a second screen, a smaller screen, and bring in another movie. Also, the idea of adding a pizza is that although we currently use Granddad's, love what Granddad's does, we're just trying to make a better experience for our customers, not having to wait as long. So we met with staff to talk about what you see in front of you. Very helpful to make it what we want as well as what the city requires too. We took over the barber shop. They stayed they're now in Columbus, but just down the road. So it was very amicable. It's not like we booted them out, whatever. It was a nice conversation. So The idea in that spot would be to add a 34 or 32 or 34 seat theater. The room is about 15 feet wide, about 30 feet deep. They will have stair-stepped seating, so you're not going to have a head in front of The building is already fire suppressed, so there's not any really issue there. As far as occupancy, the number is not going to change. We're going to take those seats out of the main auditorium. We're going to take 2 rows out of there to put into the smaller theater. So we're not asking for any of those variances or any parking requirements that we already have. And then what we did have to do is ask for permission for the neighbor for a fire exit to use their property. We don't have it in writing yet. We're working on it. We got verbal confirmation today, so apologies, but we'll get something to you in writing as soon as we possibly can, when we submit also probably for the building permit review of the plans. It's gonna be Neapolitan style pizza. I don't think there's much of that in Grandview right now. So it's gonna have fire suppressed. Oh, there are gonna be 2 entrances into the smaller theater. One will be to walk in for able-bodied, and then we are putting a lift in as well, even though, because it's gonna be raised 30 inches. So those issues are taken care of. There's not an elevator to the 2nd floor, not really required. The idea is there's gonna be less than 5 people up there at any one time. I think it's up to 5 or 4, whatever is on the plan. So we want to be in Grandview forever. I mean, we don't want to sell it or turn it into anything else. We like what we do. It's fun. We're a community asset. Just spoke to the summer program people. They're coming this summer to bring their kids. So this will help us ensure, I think, survivability of movies. Some people may ask, people still want to go to the movies because of streaming and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. You guys all go out to dinner. Can't stay home all the time. So anyways, that's what we're asking. If there are any other questions, I guess one of we worked with staff to talk about what we're doing to the front of the building. So if you notice that outside the bar has those tall glass doors that open, we're going to mirror that on the other side. So we're gonna basically have, it's gonna look that way. It's not gonna be operable. You're gonna have to get into the theater when you walk in, but it's gonna be symmetrical on either side, so.
Thanks, sir.
Sure.
Appreciate it. We're gonna have Liz go over the staff report. So just stay up here for.
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right, so other than me personally being excited about being able to get pizza after a movie, I think the project is great opportunity for the town as well. There's a few issues. I included several pictures so that you can get a good sense of what the existing situation is. So the second photo down in that image, or on that page, just depicts the public realm, which is one of the considerations. Opportunity here for continued enhancement for opportunity for folks to sit outside, have an activated area. The bottom photo on that page just shows, and I think this is something we didn't really talk about, but maybe you can speak to, maybe you can follow up on later, the existing roof line so that you can see what's on the roof today. Any new equipment would need to be screened, so that may or may not be something you have all the details on yet, I don't know.
Oh, any new equipment on the roof?
Yeah.
There is not an expectation to add anything on the roof.
Awesome. All right, so
Even the exit on the south side will be behind approximately the 5 foot, because it's wide property, and then it jets in about 5 feet and then goes back. That is even going to be hidden from the street. So sorry to interrupt.
yeah, true. The top photo there kind of depicts the current situation where, as the applicant was noting, the north side tenant space has had the storefront and door system that was there previously replaced with the sliding doors. If you read the detail in the applicant's proposal, one of those is not working very well. They're going to relocate it, replace that one, add another, fill out the rest of that on the south side so that it looks the same as the north side, and utilize either some kind of film on the back side of the glass, so that you can't see through it. As you can see from this depiction though, the glass when it's closed is quite dark. So the goal would be that they look fairly similar, even though one is actually opaque and one's not. Then there's some other shots. The first two on the left are of the egress way. If you wouldn't be able to work out an agreement with the property owner to the south, there'd be an opportunity to exit the building around the south side, or sorry, around the west side out to the north. Those two photos on the left and in the middle, and then the one on the right is of the space between the two buildings where the applicant is in fact proposing exiting folks out directly to the sidewalk. Either one would really work, as long as you get an egress agreement right from the property owner to the south, that would be fine as well. So you can see on the next page, on page 4, actually, again, just a reiteration of the fact that the city actually owns right away back behind the bank block. It's highlighted in kind of a peach color there, so that if the applicant needed to exit out around the building to the back, to that side, they wouldn't be exiting onto other private property. They would actually be exiting on city right away. So just a note. With regard to kind of various reasons why they're here, this project is in the Grandview Avenue Overlay District, so Planning Commission consideration is required for any building in that district. As I was mentioning, will be new windows and blackout film. Will create a consistent contemporary look while at the same time retaining all the historic flavor of the building, which is nice. The new emergency egress stairs, the applicant was describing the building kind of steps in, so you won't be able to see that from, I mean, you may from an oblique angle, but it won't really present to Grandview Avenue. So we take no exception to that. Opportunity to continue to expand the public realm is great. And the applicant noted that there won't be any additional rooftop equipment, so we're really supportive of the application, and just have a couple of recommended conditions on approval. One would be confirmation of the of the film and the location of the film, because we want to make sure it's on the back side of the glass, not the front, so it will look consistent. And then for major site plan for the cross-access easement to the public way. If the applicant prefers to exit out to the front and has that okay, we would be okay with following up on that, as long as there's a conditional approval included. That is my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Liz. Jim, you want to kick off?
Not really for Liz, more for the applicant. So she had noted, or the staff had at least noted, that there's the possibility to exit to the rear. How would that affect your business if that were a requirement of our approval, instead of being able to use the agreement that you looked at?
It would just add some expense to the project. Basically, we'd have to either paver or concrete 5 foot, 150 feet plus another 30, so 200 feet. But other than that, none. Because it's the idea is for the kitchen and for an emergency only. It's not intended to be used by the public at all.
What is the material back there now, and what will be, I see the stairs, not the width to the sidewalk as it comes down there. What's the material underneath your stair? Is it just grass?
Currently?
Currently or proposed?
Oh, so the idea is to make it flat and with their paper, so you'd have the stairs come down, the landing, and then go east. I mean, so the idea is to be safe for anyone to get out. The idea is not to keep it as grass.
One of the reasons why I was kind of asking about if you had to go to the existing right away and stay on your property, which is sort of traditional, is because I have a feeling, and I don't know how strongly held this opinion is, but as this strip continues to develop, and I think your project is a very good part of that, every inch of property on Grandview Ave is important, and I think I would like to see a continuous commercial strip. And so for me, if this property to the side of you changes hands, they now have to manage your easement, and I don't know, are you gonna have a reciprocal cross easement for them to exit there, if that's a job, their future building around that, or?
Oh, well, so, I mean, the intention isn't, ours, I mean, unless the building is decided to put right next to our building, and I don't know those rules, so if there's, a setback, I mean, the idea, it's not our property, so we're okay with anybody walking in between those buildings in that fashion, so, does that answer your question?
Kind of, I just wanted to make the point that that's one of the things I'm thinking of from the actual streetscape, is if I allow exiting onto Grandview Ave, or if we do as a commission, that we eliminate the opportunity for it to be a continuous, commercial strip of building in that area.
Oh,
Building, right? Wow.
Sure, but isn't that an assumption, assuming that, it's sold and then it's developed, I mean?
Sure, but I guess our job is to protect the long-term interest of the community, so that was the only point there. Outside of that, I think this is a very successful project. I really do appreciate the effort, and I totally am supportive of a business trying to find new revenue streams and have patrons here established many times.
Oh,
I
well,
think
thank you.
I think it's a great thing for our community. I'm excited to see that there was a reduction in some capacity of the larger seating area to push it over, just to help you with your business model, so we're not looking at increased parking demands. So
Correct. I will say that, the idea of Wagonbrenner making the back parking lot pay to play has been beneficial to us, because everyone used to ask, well, where do you park? And they're like, wherever you can, and now we say anywhere. So I know some people didn't like that, but we're totally supportive of that. I mean,
Right.
so it's been very beneficial to us.
I think there's a little bit of two-way with the city there, recognizing that they own an alley that they're allowing parking in, that someone's profiting from, because it's better for the community.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
outside of that, I really don't have anything else. I just wanted to point that out for us commissioners to consider.
Mark?
I'm excited. It's great. I go here often too, and it's nice to, if you missed a busy first week, to be able to catch it on a slower week. So
Yeah,
it's
and-
gonna be nice.
The smaller theater is pretty intimate, so it's really pretty awesome, so.
Yeah, I've been over Bexley, before.
Oh, sure.
Up in, Clintonville, some
Mhm.
of the smaller theaters, so it's great. I guess my only, I wasn't sure with Liz too, on discussions on the front glass. I like that it's symmetrical. I'm not always into symmetry.
Mhm.
I think it makes sense here, if I was replacing stuff. The dark glass, as an architect, I've used it before and been bitten, where the sun hits it and breaks the glass when you have film sometimes, and so it needs to be properly ventilated behind that.
Okay.
So you might just want to check with your architect
Sure.
on that, and just as a lessons learned kind of thing. But I was wondering if there's any consideration of going with, since they're operable, that you could do a wall that you could actually do displays in instead. I'm not saying, just asking if you
Sure.
talked about that. I'm not gonna push you there, just
Right.
curious.
So it's actually not gonna, the idea is not to be operable, so what we have to do, because that is the wall that the screen is gonna be on,
Yeah.
so we need to make a 18 to 20-inch soundproof wall.
Yeah.
So the idea, it's a way to repurpose, so, they were not really operable.
I was looking at, you have that fixed wall, the soundproof wall, like you're saying.
Uh-huh.
And you unlock it, open it up, and you do things that your theater would benefit, that here's the future coming attraction.
Oh, sure.
Stuff, and you close it back up, but you never break that sound barrier ever.
Right.
If there was consideration, or is that just gonna be too cluttery, maybe when it was discussed with, Grandview, and that's why it made sense to that.
The other issue, I believe, is those panels, I don't know if they're wide enough put a movie poster and to illuminate it. So,
It's fine.
No, I understand.
I was just brainstorming,
Mhm.
sorry, as an architect. But overall, I
Sure.
like this, and the biggest thing is just check your
Okay.
your film. And
Absolutely.
ventilate it at least between there. because if it builds up too much heat there, it will crack the glass.
Right, we've had discussions talking about, to your point, like, well, if it's gonna fade, how are we gonna have access, right, to it? I mean, those are considerations.
Fix it later, yeah.
Right, because, I mean, we don't want what you're talking about, the fraying and it just looks terrible, so.
And then the other was really, again, the access points. I think Tim discussed it, so don't need to go through that anymore. And the third point was just really, was alluded to engaging the sidewalk. Your plans don't show any change to furniture or anything. I mean, it's nice to be able to, on a nice day, to be sitting outside before you come into the theater or still out. Those are nice benefits. So were you looking at making any future changes or wanting to do any changes out there?
Oh, you like more permanent or just that offer outdoor seating?
It could be either. Just
So we did, if you look on the north side, we do have, there's steel, it's a steel barrier, it's flat. So we were looking to replicate that the same on the south side to give it, well, number one, for liquor control, it's an easier way to use, it's something more permanent than a bench or something like that. So it sort of gives this, you know, you have to come in here. So that is the plan to do something like that in that fashion.
And does that need to go separately since it's not on these plans right now? Because it would change, you know, the look outside, because it's setting boundaries with permanent rails and things like that.
They're not, they're removable, but I understand what you mean.
Yeah,
Correct.
you know, there's a public way and you know,
Sure.
there's walking and stuff, so to control that.
It's all on our property, so.
Great, I would just suggest that that's your intention, if that's okay with the planning commission. You've heard it, so if you're okay with it, you can approve it as part of major site plan review. And we will follow up with our legal and safety services folks to make sure that there's appropriate.
They did bring the other side through
Yeah.
initially, so, so there is, it's on record of, I guess, our thoughts and things of, you know, if it mirrors what's already there, then, you know. And I think there was an issue with the clearance for the ramp,
Yeah.
yeah, so all those things were discussed when we brought that last time, and I don't think we're dealing with it if you were to mirror it.
Yeah, that's the only concern since it's not shown here. Those are the only questions I had.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Just to be clear, so is the second floor brand new or is that already there and you're just interior?
So, the theater is gonna take over first floor of where the barber shop was to the
Right.
south. In the back, have you been to the theater? So in the back
Yeah.
part of it has a raised ceiling, probably 12 feet. The plan is to lower that, and that is gonna be for where the kitchen's gonna be. The old booth and expansion of the kitchen and then storage. No, not public access. It's simply for the kitchen and our
Going back to the outside staircase, couldn't you just put it on the north side, align with the interior staircase, and that way you don't have to worry about doing any of this? It's kind of, that's how the theater is. I know it's just coming up, but couldn't this be moved to the north?
on the outside, so you
Yeah.
would,
Because
It
there's
would-
room here, so seems like you still have the same width.
correct,
And
we
then
do, we
the
would have the
length-
same width.
The length seems to be avoiding that other exit door.
I
Again,
think-
I really don't care, just another option if we're thinking that in the future.
Sure.
you know,
I think the way, the layout of the kitchen and because if you have the exit the same place, you would be coming up the stairs from you would coming from downstairs, upstairs into the kitchen. And then I think the other consideration is if you have it there, you're walking out into, an alley where there's a lot of traffic.
But
So,
isn't that the same situation
on the south,
on the theater?
no, because the whole north side of the theater is
Parking.
the alley.
Okay. Oh, no.
So that's why we didn't really approach it. Well, that's not, I think it's just the way it worked internally. It was a better, more direct route out and not confusion of because where we'd want to come out, if you, on the north side, that's where you would come up from the downstairs, up into.
Right, and that's what I was saying, so you come up, there's already a landing here, couldn't that be at a door to go out?
I don't.
If I may, just in the conversations with the applicant's architect, he indicated, as all the others sitting here know, you can't exit through a kitchen. So
Okay.
they'd have to rearrange their entire layout.
Oh, yeah, that's correct.
To do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it creates a dead end probably. Well, I guess we could.
That's all.
Eric?
I think it's a great project. I don't have any, I had some similar comments to Mark about the glass and maybe the opportunity to try to almost create like a shadow box, you know, with that, if you have enough space between your sound wall and the glass, we use it as some sort of display case for movie posters or some kind of graphic. You know, with it being basically a blank facade there, it's not gonna activate the street the same way as an operable or whatever you can look into, so maybe there's some other way, again, it's not something else.
Sure.
It's just something to think about,
Okay.
for some way to do that. And then I think along the same lines, and it sounds like you are thinking about that, activating the streetscape, the public realm there with some benches and some of what you do on the other side so that there is activity out there. I think one of the strong suits of Grandview Avenue is the third space quality that we have along with the, you know, outside Jenny's, outside Stoff's, the other benches, people kind of can wander and find their spot. And so, again, I know you've got partitions for liquor and things like that, but if people within the theater can go out there and activate that, I think it will really help.
Right, and they
that
can now.
facade feel. 'Cause I mean, I understand from a purely aesthetic standpoint, from the outside, having it match and look the same and have it be the dark glass, but it's not gonna be the same as this other side. That one of the best parts about it is opening up and seeing people inside the bar and inside there and
Correct.
spilling out, and won't have it on the other side, and that's okay. I think if you can maybe try to achieve it another way with the exterior activation, I guess.
Okay.
And maybe thinking about some way to do something with the glass that might be different than just putting the film on there. I didn't really have an issue with the egress, although once Tim brought up the idea of continuing the development, I mean, it is something to consider, but I think it's something I guess we can deal with in the future when that comes, but, if it's a cost burden to do it in the back because it's all the extra concrete, then I'm fine with where it is.
Well, it seems that at least we know there is a second option if
Yeah.
in the future there.
Yeah.
So
Then,
I think
yeah.
we can keep it this way and then in the future we know there's another option. if we need it.
Yeah. Eric, I really appreciate the project.
Oh, thanks.
I think the theater, you know, really helps create something unique in Grandview, so we appreciate you being here. A lot of my questions I had were answered, or asked already and answered. But, you know, I just wanna, I guess, echo what they're saying. It's not necessarily something we would expect an answer from you tonight. It's just, we're trying to think long-term of what that block is going to look like.
Sure.
And we've already had one project, you know, consider that area, and one of the things that they were requesting of us is a zero
Lot line?
lot line. And so it's just something to keep in mind for the future. And, you know, the way that bump out works, you could still, you know, you could change and go around the building, but cross that bridge when you come to it.
Sure.
I would just say, you know, be ready for that discussion.
Mhm.
And, you know, we want to work with you on that. It's, you know, I don't want it to come across tonight as, this is something you have to figure out right now.
No, sure, I understand that. I mean, that makes sense. I think it's a little strange to go, you know, 130 feet and then another 30, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons why we took the approach we did. I don't know if there's, I mean, it is a cost. I mean, I don't know if that's the driving factor. It was just, you'd rather, if there's something going on in the building, you're leaving there, you want to get out there quicker as a, I mean, the other thing too is, we're not putting up a fence, right? I mean, that's our property line. They can legitimately just, if there's a fire, they can go into the backyard of that person currently, right? As it is now, so.
Yeah.
And I will say, as far as the, trying to make that side, it's a difficult decision. When we talked to staff, and it was really important to have it sort of mirror. We're repurposing those big doors. Those things are $50,000. I mean, it's a $50,000 situation. And so we're going to be able to repurpose it, you know, over, so it is important. We talked about whether if we did do that, just making it black or somehow making it look like the other side, but putting poster cases on the outside. Those, you know, that's just a conversation we have with staff, and there's numerous ways we can go, I think, about that. But I do like the idea of this poster, like making it a little alive. We'd have to talk with people to see how to do that with the glass. Like it may be something, but it is beneficial to us, don't get me wrong. I mean, we could line, you know, when you go to movies, right, you see on the bigger, they have all the movie poster cases and coming soon. So, you know, I think that's something we can discuss.
Would that be considered a sign? Sometimes what we
There's-
consider sign,
yeah,
I'm like.
There are some provisions that permit a certain amount of signage on glass for businesses such as this, so there would be some things that you could do without variances, so to speak. Yeah, yeah, right. Temporary. We can follow up further on that.
And that's all the specifics I had. I said, I think what you presented is fine. It's just, we might need to act differently in the future.
No, that is fine. We're not,
We don't know what the future holds, but we are.
Correct.
We are called planning commission, so we're trying to plan.
no, I totally understand, and that's not an unreasonable thing to expect. Like if we come back and say, hey, you're gonna have to rethink this. Okay, that's fine.
And it could be to your benefit too, so.
Correct.
it's hard to
Yeah.
tell. So thank you again, I appreciate the project, Councilman Panzera.
No, other than I mimic the gratitude that was expressed here by my colleagues on the Planning Commission. Thank you for your endurance.
Oh.
And
Sure.
making it through, particularly the past couple of years.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful amenity to our city and to the community and to Grandview Avenue. And I have no objections, fully supportive of your effort to add a second screen. We were made aware of that ongoing necessity and the difficulties that single screen theaters face through the various iterations that we've had of Grandview Theater and that
Sure.
location. So happy that you are here and happy that you will continue to be here.
Thanks. Yeah, we are too.
Mayor?
It's a great amenity already. Thanks for the investment in the community to make it even better.
Sure.
Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Stan, raise your,
I wasn't here for the swearing in,
you swear to tell
so
the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, state your name and address.
Yeah, hi, I'm Austin Carter, 1203 Westwood Avenue. I'm here to provide comment on the proposed changes to the Grandview Theater. I want to 100% be clear at the beginning that I like beer, I like watching movies, I like drinking beer and watching movies. I want the Grandview Theater and all the businesses on Grandview Avenue to be wildly successful. And I believe this plan will improve this business and the whole strip. And so I support you guys approving this plan. That said, I believe that this plan will increase the demand for on-street parking on Grandview Avenue and the surrounding streets. I didn't hear much talk about this. Did you guys?
That was addressed.
It was addressed?
There are no additional seats.
There's no additional seats? Aren't they adding 36 seats?
They're gonna relocate 36 from the main theater.
Okay, so they're reducing 36?
The main theater, yes.
Okay, okay.
Purpose.
Okay, so they're making the first theater smaller?
It's a neutral.
Okay, well then, never mind. Apologies for the,
It's all right.
It's good to be considered.
No, that's right. Yeah, something to think about. All right, how does the commission proceed? Keep in mind that there was a couple conditions suggested in the staff report. I'm gonna take a quick look at those.
Where is it?
Page 5, on page 5.
guess, make a motion to approve this proposal with the two following conditions. One, that if they move forward with, or when they move forward with the opaque film that is installed on the interior side of the glass, and it's not picked at and pulled away, that they maintain that as well if there are issues down the road. And the second condition is that they have in writing legal documentation of the access for legal cross-access agreement with the parcel to the south. And that's in place before they make these improvements.
Filed at the city and the county.
Yes, that's what it says.
That will be required,
Yeah, with the city and the county.
second it.
Commissioner Kasuski,
In favor.
Commissioner Heller,
Favor, yes.
Commissioner Rourke,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonjoro,
Yes.
Chairman Gentry.
Yes. So, do you understand the conditions?
Yes, I'll repeat. So make sure that the film is maintained and put on the inside of the glass on the south side of the building. And then any of this, if we decide to move forward with the egress, make sure that it is legal and filed with you and the county. Is that?
Yeah, and I think staff can help make sure. that-
Your architect can follow up on all that stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And, yeah, tell Andy, thanks for taking care of all this in the community here.
Oh, yeah, he had to go to some play or something with his wife, so he couldn't make it, so he sent me. But I am representing that instead of I always, the only one I have, so, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you. What's that? Yeah.
That'll work.
Okay, get into the next case here, but real quick, I want to bring something up to the commission members and see how you'd like to proceed. So as part of the applicant's responsibility to come before the planning commission is notification to surrounding property owners. And this next applicant, followed those guidelines, sent out the notices with receipts. Unfortunately, a couple of the addresses from the auditor's office were not correct, is my understanding. And those did not make it. I mean, we can have the applicant kind of explain the situation, but before we get to the case, we could do one of two things. We can vote to say that the spirit of the law was followed and we're willing to hear the case, or we can hear the case and not vote, and then vote after the.
There's no public comment.
I did not receive any public comment.
Which one is this for?
This is for the 1133 Goodale, Lex Bridal LLC.
My concern would be, I'd like to hear from the property owners, or give them the chance, because I know there's been complaints about the parking from the distillery. There's an issue with the streets, and everyone parking there, and this is the parking variance, or one of the issues is, I feel we owe them, but maybe, I don't know. That would be my concern, and it's a concern, and I would love to hear from you.
I would suggest maybe inviting the applicant to provide a little bit more color on what they did with regard to notices. It would, from having spoken with the applicant earlier today and with legal counsel, it's my opinion that the spirit of the notice requirement was followed through. The applicant utilized UPS and does have confirmation of receipt for delivered notices versus USPS with certified mail, but the same, essentially the same evidence of delivery was provided. The second problem, however, that he ran into is that 2 of the addresses listed in the auditor's website were not correct. So he did the same as he would have done with certified mail, but the 2 pieces were not able to be delivered because the address on the auditor's website was not complete or not correct, and therefore those pieces couldn't be delivered through basically no fault of his and probably no different outcome than had it been sent certified mail. So we would support a variance from, in this case, because of the minor nature and the legitimate notice given. Since I spoke with the applicant, he may have additional information as well in terms of additional efforts to reach the owners.
The applicant?
Yeah.
Feel free to come on. Give us an idea of what,
Sure.
what efforts were made, and then we'll let the commission kind of decide how they want to proceed, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. And thanks, Liz. I'm Nathan Miller, a firm with Kane Law Group. So I represent the applicant here. They were unable to make it. He travels for his full-time job, so he's outside the state right now. As Liz explained, there were about 8 surrounding properties that would be required to get notice of this. I printed it off here, showing a map, the ones that we tried to deliver notice to. It wasn't USPS, that was a clerical error with our firm. They sent a UPS, which we typically do. We do have confirmation, since it was UPS though, that they were all delivered except for 2. And I had printed off here, I'm happy to pass these out to you if you want me to, but printed out a copy of the auditor and/or Treasury's website showing the address that they would get formal notices. However, those were returned. We just found out of that earlier today. I had one of my assistants try to go there, but no personal delivery was possible. So we do have confirmation that all surrounding properties did receive notice except for 2 of them, which you can see on the map that they're both about 2 properties away from where we are catty-cornered. So.
Commissioner members want to see that.
Were they businesses or residential?
So they're all businesses. Because of where this is located, they're all businesses. Behind it is the railroad, and then all of it's just city-owned property, so no one had to get served there. And if you'd like, I'd be happy to hand these out so you can kind of give an idea of, I printed off a map to identify the locations too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm told they're put in order too for confirmation delivery too, and then the addresses.
Chairman Gentry, if I may, just briefly, just kind of preface some of the upcoming conversation. What kind of scale of parking variance are we pursuing here? I want to be able to apply some relevance as to what this difficulty might translate into in terms of notification to surrounding addresses.
Alright, so I actually have updated site plan with respect to
You
the
can give me a
parking
number,
areas. Oh, we're looking for 1 spot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of
Yeah.
set the stage here.
The site can hold 27 spots. We, by code, need 28.
Thank you, and thank you, Chairman.
How does the commission want to proceed?
I'm happy to clarify.
Please do.
Yes, so the previous site that was submitted and approved back in 2017 had 34 spots. That included 7 spots that were not on the property, that were adjacent to our property to the west. And so those spots were in an agreement between the 2 businesses. That agreement is no longer happening, and so as a result, we were left with 27 spots. Therefore, there were 34 spots approved previously, but with our current retail use and the existing tenant on site, like I said, I'm happy to pass these out. We've done parking calculations. We need 28 spots, but there are 27 left.
Well, let's determine if we want, right, before you kind of detail it here, let's determine if we, just to save everybody time here.
I'm willing to go forward with a really one spot, is what it sounds like. And I don't know if we can even say that they can send it out to those other 2 and just say, find out if that really they have any major objection or not, and come back, or is that too late?
No, you just need to vote on whether you're willing to vary the
Okay.
notice, minor variance to the notices.
Is that a motion?
Motion that would go forward with hearing them right now.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. A roll call, or is it just a yea or nay?
All in favor, say yea. Those all in favor, say nay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let me start at the top.
Thank you.
Next case is PC case number 6-2022. Address is 1133 Goodale Boulevard. Lex Bridal LLC is the applicant. We're looking at a conditional use for retail sales in M1 district. Major site plan review for improvements of the exterior and the public realm space. And a variance for a reduction in parking required to support the conditional use. Take it away.
And thanks for letting us move forward too. So, as I said, I'm Nathan Miller. I'm the attorney representing Lex Redux Bridal. They have about 7 stores existing. This one particularly, operating under the trade name La June Marie, is the only one under this trade name. It's currently being operated downtown Columbus on Main Street, so this would be a relocation. They've been looking for some time, I think, primarily to enlarge the space, and then, you know, if they're gonna put that much time and effort into it, I think they also wanna own their own space too. So, they've been looking for a while. This opportunity came up in Grandview. I know that particularly was appealing to them, you know, seeing as how a lot of small businesses are doing really well here. So, the property, the current property owner is selling just a portion of the existing building. My client would be purchasing about 6,000 square feet. They would retain about 3,000. So as a part of that, assuming we get the approval here, we'd move forward. It'd be created as a condominium at closing. So, and as part of that, we would sign obviously a declaration that has common areas. So the whole property now would be available to both the applicant, my client, as well as the existing user, the title company. I think you can speak a little more
Sure.
to the
So-
parking variance.
Sure. Just a little more background on Lux Redux. Their business model is
You
such
could
that,
just state your name.
I'm sorry, Christina Panosky with Red Architects. The business model with Lux Redux is such that they only require for guests to join per fitting, and they stage it in such a way that only 3 to 4 users could come, groups of users could come. So their parking is quite limited in that sense, but as I said earlier, looking at the site plan, previously in 2017, this was submitted as one property with the intent to have the parking split in the sense that they would be renting 7 spots from the previous property, the previous property to the west. So it occurred to us to So as you can see, the 7 spots in question were no longer in play because of that agreement no longer being in play. So as stated earlier, 27 parking spots and 28 parking spots, and there are 27 on site.
So what is this required space is 30 parking per right, it does not update it?
Our updated is up here. So we have the updated spots up here. So unit 100, which would be our client, is just over 6,000 square feet, would require 20 spots. The user behind unit 120 would require 8.
And if I may, as Christina said, so they're only appointment based, since they are kind of a higher end. Right now, in their current spot, they don't have any dedicated parking spaces. It's just, the available parking on the street. They said they usually, what he told me is it's usually, they only have 2 appointments at any given time. And on average, they need about a park and a half per appointment. So you're looking at 3 at any given time. Their employees, they sometimes need up to 7. But that also depends on how busy they are. Their busiest time of the week is the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. The back user, the current user, is the title company, so they only work Monday through Friday. So I think the 2 would complement each other pretty well with the parking requirements.
All right, Sarah, you want to kick off the question?
Yeah, so I guess.
Or what- well,
Oh,
hang on a second.
sorry.
I should let Liz go first with her staff report. Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
You got me all off tonight with this.
I know, it's just acting.
Pre-vote.
Well, so, this building was renovated a while back, just the shell of it, and of course, there's one tenant there. We've been hoping that somebody with that complementary use would be interested in the building and are happy really to have the applicants interested in the building. Seems like it will be a nice fit for both the parcel as well as the area. I have included here, just generally speaking, I included both the architectural design guidelines, the codified design guidelines, as well as the survey development standards, as well as the area plan, mixed-use corridor along Goodale, because it's a conditional use request. So just for your reference with regard to that conditional use, the area is changing. There are really kind of a wide variety of shops down there. As a smaller shop on a smaller parcel, it's a nice fit for someone who needs relatively little parking and is able to make use of the building. So that, broadly, I would make those comments. There are some photos there, so you can kind of get a sense of how the building sits with the adjacent driveways that are there. As the applicant mentioned, there's a number of things here in terms of the conditional approvals related to the condominiumization of the building, and they can't really finish some of those things, but those provisions would need to be required before a building permit and final approval for zone could be offered. Again, on the conditional use question, retail is not a permitted use in M1 zoning. However, it does fit in well with the community plan future for the mixed use area along Goodale. The applicants, discussion about parking gave us some confidence that the parking would be well accommodated on the site. Doesn't seem to be problematic for anyone there. The conditional use approval then, it's basically set up so that you can determine whether or not the use that's requested is one that would provide an undue burden on the site. And in our opinion, this would not do that. So relatively speaking, conditional use would be a minor request as far as that goes, and we would support that, provided that the condominium documents would illustrate shared parking since you're splitting the lot front to back. With regard to the exterior improvements, all good, enhancing the public realm and the street-facing facade. Very much appreciate that. We also are asking, however, for conditional approval on this. Part of the improvements that they show on the rendering, also on the site plan that you can see, are in the right-of-way. However, it is largely landscaping or furniture that could be relocated. all of the, so currently, if you look at the current pictures, the mulch bed, about maybe 8 feet or so of that actually is in the right of way now. The right of way line is back closer where the telephone poles are. So the majority of the lots in this area have landscaping out to the sidewalk. The applicant would be advised that anything in the right of way, if the city needed to do anything else, that stuff would need to be removed. However, in terms of the outcome and design, aesthetic and enjoyability, I think we would generally approve this. We did not get a chance to run it past the city engineer just to make sure there's not anything very specifically underneath those locations that they would be worried about, but we could make final approval subject to that review. So asking for consideration on the issue of amenities in the right of way for major site plan and the conditional use and parking variance. Essentially would recommend conditional approval on all of those things subject to these additional documents that they need to provide.
Thanks, Liz. Sarah?
I don't have any issue with the, conditional use. I think it's great to have a mixture of businesses along Goodale. I know there's a number of different things along there now. I think that's good. Obviously the improvements to the exterior, I think look great. On the benches that you're showing there, and I can understand now that those are in the right of way there, what is the material that they're gonna be underneath?
Underneath,
What are they sitting on?
pea gravel.
Oh, okay, so part of that gravel walkway just continues out. Okay. So they're not gonna be fixed, they're just gonna be sitting in the gravel. I don't have any major issues. I think it's a great project. I don't see, the parking thing, sounds like they're not even gonna, maybe necessarily, you're only asking for one spot, but it doesn't sound like, given the way that they do the appointments, that you're ever probably gonna even max out that, so I don't think that's an issue, so I don't have any other questions or comments.
So the parking spots, the handicap, so it's the only entrance in the front, so
There are 2 entries, correct.
so is that ADA compliant? Because it's not just the parking spots, it has to be accessible and.
We would have to confirm, yes, the intent is that it would be ADA compliant.
Yeah, that's my only concern. It seems kind of far away for someone in a wheelchair
We could look at other considerations. There are a number of spots along the side, so we could accommodate a parking spot along that facade if necessary.
Yeah, I guess the only issue there is height. You only have 9 feet, and, you know, if they're driving, I guess they can get out into town. But anyway, that's just my concern. But, you know, originally, that was not a concern when this was developed. And now it is retail, so it's a little bit different. That's it.
Yeah, second her vote on that, just what is that pathway, that is safe for the ADA person, needs to be considered. I'm fine with one less spot for the use. What is the use again for the existing tenant, or the condo person, the other, it's a title?
Title.
Company, so, okay. So, a little bit. Is there, just a question, are we looking at signage on this too? I see on their graphics signage things, there's no thoughts on that, or that all meets everything that we don't need to
There
consider?
was a variance requested on signage. I think we need, more information than what's been provided so far to the review signage, and it may be compliant. So, when it comes in, we'll review it. If there's any issue, the zoning perspective will have to come back in.
So we don't need to talk about that tonight. That's good.
They downsized the signage on their elevation to meet what we allow.
All right. So no variances.
I love that you're doing something in the front. It's the soft, it's really engaging the streets. people, and I agree with the caveat that, just so the owner knows, if something happens, it's on their dime, even though they're conditionally approved on that, but I think that's helping the street. It's what we want along this area. What, can I get a clarification on the light gray versus the dark gray? That's sort of covering half of the parking area. Is that an overhang or something, or what is that? I haven't walked back behind there, so I don't know.
That's the existing patio for the title company.
Okay, so it's being cut back for more parking when you're redoing parking is what you're doing? So, there's a triangular wedge over the,
It also
Light
might be
gray.
a graphical error on the drawing. I believe that the existing speckle color is the existing patio.
yeah. So I just wondered what that was.
It's an overhang.
It looks like an overhang or something, like a building expansion or something being proposed. Just saying it's not building, that's what I need to.
No, I believe that is a graphical error on the drawing. It should, that gray, light gray should be to unit 120.
Otherwise, I don't have any other comments myself. Thank you.
Mostly just in support, so in support of the type of business that's going in there, and then in further support of additional improvements to the public realm. And I tend to like when businesses invest, but also when they want to take ownership of the building and they'll be here long term. It's showing a pretty big commitment up front to me to allow a variance and allow them to operate successfully. So on that end, I really have nothing. If we're not going to need to review signage or anything else, I'm generally in support, so thank you.
Yeah, I don't think I have any additional questions other than the handicap accessibility, of how that could be addressed, if it needs to be addressed.
It's challenging. If you
Yeah.
look at a building like the bank block, it's a very similar condition. Folks walk around in the essentially in the drive aisle to get to the front of the building. It's a challenge with the older community to get everything perfect,
Yeah.
I guess I'm more concerned with the slope. I mean, no one says that the handicap has to be close proximity, it's just the whole path has to be flatter than 2%, which is why they usually bring it closer, because then you can maintain all that. I'm not sure if that's out there, so.
I think Charlie could remind maybe the group, or maybe some of you guys might remember, that the parking configuration is not changing, and I think was permitted as part of a prior approval for the core and shell. So from that perspective, it's an existing, already approved condition.
Even if the use is changing? Because that's what I mentioned, that this was
Yeah.
designed for something else, and now we're making it retail, so it's a
Yeah.
different use. Does this work?
I don't know if there's a different provision in ADA by that consideration. I don't know.
I think the number of spaces will dictate the number of handicap spaces that you have, so you have those. The other thing for this group is, I think I heard them say that they have appointments, so they may know who's coming before that, and they could have directions on, to accommodate that point.
Thank you. I think it looks great. I think the work they've done on the building already, it was a huge upgrade, so appreciate for your client, I appreciate you doing that. Councilman?
I would second that in terms of having a very good recollection of what this structure was before, and it's been widely, at least anticipated, that the front was going to end up retail or some sort of flex space. It's not a surprise. I'm glad that you're putting it to use.
I don't know, I remember they were talking about a bus repair shop or something at one point in time in there, so.
Slight improvement.
Yeah, slight improvement.
And I have no objections
They
to
couldn't turn
proceed.
out of it, so.
They had a whole plan for it. Mayor?
Glad to have a user finally for the space, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience have any questions, comments? members have any idea how you want to proceed? As with last time, I'll say, there are conditions on the front page of the staff report if you are so inclined to include.
I guess I'll make a motion to approve PCK 0622, that's the one we're on, with the conditions recommended in the staff report, so those being removed amenities in the right of way, should the city need access or need to make public realm improvements, file the condominium agreements, legally documenting the change of ownership, and it should all be subject to the city engineer's final review and approval.
Is there a second?
Second?
Sorry.
Commissioner Heller,
Yes.
Commissioner Kasuski,
Yes.
Commissioner Badura,
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke,
Yes.
Chairman Gentry.
Yes.
Approved.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
you're clear on the conditions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're moving on to PC case number 7-2022. And it will be for 1295 and 1291 Grandview Avenue. The Rebel Sign Company is the applicant. Specifically for 1295 Grandview Avenue, we're looking at an overall site plan, falls within the Grandview Heights Overlay District. And then a variance to that plan to allow different sizes and styles of lettering. And then specifically for 1291 Grandview Avenue, we're considering a major site plan review involving a new exterior awning. And then also reviewing the overall site plan with a variance to increase allowable awning total area and total allowable signage. Please state your name and address and who you're with.
I'm Patty Scott. My address is 971 Columbia Road, Hamilton, Ohio.
I'm Brian Sharp. I work with Agave Rye. My address is 432 Pike Street, South Lebanon, Ohio, 45065.
And I'm here representing Yvonne Sarber, who is the owner. She travels a lot and fortunately is accepting a national award, which is really cool, but was unable to be here tonight. So, and also representing Elizabeth, who's from the sign company that worked directly with you all on this.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us. I actually have some notes that have been written down that Yvonne would like, if you don't mind, that I could sort of go through these just to make sure I've covered everything, if that's all right. First of all, she wanted to thank the commissioners. She is beyond epically excited to be bringing Agave and Rye to Grandview. This is home for her. This is coming back home. So she is extremely excited to be doing this. We're coming before you today to request a major site plan review and a variance for the number of type of styles and number of sizes of the lettering used for our signage. The signage maintains Agave and Rye branding, but while still taking into account the Grandview Heights design guidelines. The final design is quite complementary to the Grandview Heights character and tradition. The sizing is modest, well below the code allowed square footage, and yet still distinctive. The main identification sign is only 32.72 square feet. The Agave and Rye letters are 1/8 of an inch flat cut out letters that will have light shining up on them from the back side. The B will be face illuminated only in the white areas, and the Epic Topgo letters will illuminate white. The tagline Tequila and Bourbon Hole is comprised of an 8 half tall by a half thick individual non-illuminated letters, and each reading in only 10.57 square feet. So as you can see on page 3 of what you currently have of the drawings, the complete wall sign package totals 53.86 square feet. There are a total of 4 type styles and 4 sizes of lettering and graphics, which is why we are requesting the variance. With regards to the awnings, the awning presentation is simple and attractive. It includes a small branding logo and identification of the arcade exterior entrance. The design complements the vintage visual appeal of the restaurant. We're asking for approval as presented on that as well. Any questions?
Well, we'll go into the staff report, and I'm sure there'll be some
Okay.
questions after that. All right, Liz?
Yeah, thanks. So the applicant covered a lot of it quite well. The pieces are easy to understand since they're installed. So you can see some photos provided just to make clear. The restaurant is taking basically the entire space that Spagio had before, as well as the wine cellar, or whatever it was called, with the patio outside. And so it's really one business with a little bit of a sub area, if you will, where the arcade is. There'll be games in there. So I look forward to that myself. The considerations really, signage, again, in the Grandview Heights, Grandview Avenue Overlay District is required to be reviewed by Planning Commission no matter what it is. So that's one reason that it's here. There is also temporary signage. In general, temporary signage is permitted. The window decals are permitted as an idea. However, the branding components on those are not without approval and without meeting size requirements. So there's a condition later in the staff report I'll cover in a moment with regard to the temporary signage. The specifics, awning signs are allowed on the vertical face where the vintage arcade occurs at the canopy. They're allowed to be 1 foot high, or a total of 6 foot maximum square feet. The signage code, as the applicant mentioned, permits only 2 styles and 3 sizes of lettering. They've got a creative and unique logo, which begs a little bit of leniency, I think, on that front. Generally, the design guidelines are looking for minimalist signage, and I will say I very much appreciate the applicant working with us. They had a rather more exuberant sign package originally that came in. And,
Sorry.
they were willing to tone that down some in respect for the guidelines goals for minimal signage in the area. Generally, again, the Grandview Avenue Overlay District standards are looking for things that are creative and will add visual appeal to the area. The location of the sign is sort of playing off the location of the avenue sign to the north of that, so setting a little bit of having a conversation there and making an interesting streetscape. The overall, we would say that the size and shape of the canopy, placement of business name on the vertical face, very consistent with the guidelines, doesn't seem excessive. The colors are simple with just black and white, which helps as well with the different kinds of letters and characters and logos and all of that. Those seem to come together to form a nice whole in keeping with the desire through the guidelines of the overlay district for vitality and visual appeal. If you take all of it together, they're actually still under square footage, not only the kind of main Spagio space, but also, sorry, it's gonna take a really long time.
It's all good.
It's all right.
It's a good thing, really. And the arcade space is still under what would be permitted. So, taken as a whole, we don't really have any exception to the permanent signage that was submitted, nor to the canopy. All of that seems in keeping. We would recommend approval, or really conditional approval on all of those things, subject to that temporary signage coming down by the end of next week. It really shouldn't be both things up, that much kind of graphic stuff going on, and the applicants have confirmed that they'll be in position to be able to do that by that time, so that's the recommendation.
Francis?
Okay. First.
Keep you on your toes.
Yeah. I'm okay with the awning, but I'm not sure I'm crazy about the black and white and then a navy on top of it with the, but that's not your problem. Not sure I'm loving the sign, and I know the Avenue has a lit sign, but it's just against the wall, so I'm not saying no yet. I would love to hear everyone else, but I don't know, I'm not immediately in love with it. But I would love to hear someone else's opinion.
Mark?
Overall, don't have any objections to the permanent signs. The temporary signs are the ones when I've been walking by going, wow, where did that come from? Thinking, wow. Just, it's advertising, definitely, slide it in. And I always view that as being very temporary, and, how long it will be, need to be up. Honestly, looking at page 2 of this, where it shows the sign installed, it's not lit in the nighttime position. During the daytime, it looks fine to me. It's actually, looking at this rendering versus the actuality, it looks a lot less imposing. It's pretty subtle. Again, at nighttime, I'm not sure what it's going to look like. It's hard to tell. But I think the scale of the lettering probably is appropriate. And the extra style between the two, you could make a case it's two different. Even though it's one property, it's two, so then you could say one has one style and the other has the other two styles, or three, and you could have said it meets what you're trying to do there because of the things, so that doesn't bother me either. I'd just like to know a little more about how bright it might be, but otherwise I don't have a major objection. The temporary signage comes in.
So yeah, I think the actual install picture makes this easier for me to comprehend, because it looks like a big, on the drawing, a big internally illuminated sign.
Right,
Clearly it's got different components. I appreciate the thin letters of the agave versus the actual logo being on the backlit components, so to speak, even though they all do. On my end, I also did some little neighborhood surveying when this first came out, and like 35% of people had no idea something had changed. So like, I was like, well, I guess there's not a huge objection from the public, and seeing how there was no public comment on this, I think I'm gonna have a hard time telling you to take down the sign.
And we did, I think you all know this, but we did do the communication out to the addresses and things like that as well.
Could you walk me through how it got up without coming through here? I don't know if you were working through multiple iterations.
Yeah, so we actually, it was a communication issue. We actually had met with Liz. We were supposed to open prior to this happening. We didn't realize that's a whole nother story in itself. So I reached out to Liz and we quickly worked together. We delayed the opening and completely shifted to another location so that we could come here and do this. The sign was not supposed to be erected until tomorrow morning, hoping that we got approval today, but there was miscommunication, and I quite honestly, we didn't even know it was up till it was up. So.
But the awning's been up for a week.
The awning was up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that would explain my survey, so my survey was a little skewed.
Yes, it was supposed to be tomorrow morning.
But I did ask people today before the commission meeting. So.
And we are more than welcome to take down I think we could even meet before the deadline that has been set on the temporary signage, but they just want to make sure aesthetically it looks really nice inside before the wrap is taken off.
Sure, yeah, I think I've mentioned this, we've had a number of sign things in the last few months, and I still remain supportive of brands being able to have their identity, and the way our code is written, I generally think is that there are a lot of good components, but some of them were very stringent, so I will continue to take the stance of this commission that it's done artfully and respectfully to the community, and I support a brand having their own beginning.
And we appreciate that, and as Liz says, it was a much different look initially, but we want to respect and work with the community and be here a long time, so we made a lot of changes.
Sarah?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, knowing that you guys have, tried to work with the guidelines are and the sort of requirements here, and, in general, I think it's fine. Remind me though, like, what is illuminated at night, the B and which part, like, on the actual sign? Like,
It's
what-
just a light that shines actually on Agave and Rye.
Oh, okay, so it's not like it's not glowing, it's just illuminated. Ah, right, I thought there was
Right.
some part that was like,
No, they have like LED track lighting that, well, it's like
Shines up.
backlit.
It's like a backlighting.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was glowing.
No.
Okay. All right, I don't have any issues.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no, this was on the agenda, I looked at all your other locations, and I was surprised you were modest in your, in your initial discussion, but, having said that, I do appreciate, this is a special part of our community, and we do try to protect it, and I really appreciate you working with staff and trying to meet the demands of the community, and I wouldn't be surprised at what your initial offer was, your initial submission was. Look up some of their locations.
It's pretty good.
They have an identity.
I will share with you something exciting.
And I like it. It's great. I
Thank
just don't know if it's a bank block.
Yeah. I will share something that's going to be very unique to Grandview that will not be at any of the other locations. There's been a special commission approved for a young Betty White art piece that is actually going to be inside the Grandview location.
Oh, really?
So we felt out of all the locations, Grandview probably most represented the young Betty White in her class. And so we're kind of excited about that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, and I would encourage commission members to check out the Troy location. Where you did that building is really cool.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councilman?
No, I'm in agreement with everything that's been pointed out. I was a little concerned when the temporary signage went up, but it's a good flavor for the street, and you've accomplished what staff and this commission has expected from it, so thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that very much.
Thank you. I believe the permanent signage looks fantastic, and I think it's a cool brand. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Yes, sir. State your name and address.
Rick Wilson, 1296 Broadview. So that rendering that I'm looking at, that is how the sign is positioned today and will remain positioned. And did you say the sign was backlit or forelit?
It's got the LEDs on the front, and then there's LEDs going up.
Okay. Have you looked at, is there going to be any light emanating behind? I live right behind you. I could throw a rock from my backyard and hit your roof.
Okay, so no, the slope of that roof, that illumination,
It's not going to get back to me.
Not at all.
Because I sleep, or I should be in bed now.
yeah, me too. And no, from the front, you have nothing to worry about. Our back, there's one security light, but it's actually behind our walk-in box, so that won't even bother you.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
That's all I have. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank
I'm
you.
looking forward to epic tacos.
They are epic.
Yeah, they're pretty wild. Thank you.
Thank you. Commission members? Again, consider the condition that, who is that, who's that?
I'll give it a try. We'll have to read all this. Do we go one one thing at a time, like 2 motions, or
I don't know, I mean,
do we
I
want
think,
it?
I think unless there's disagreement on any components of the motion, you could motion all together.
you want, you should see as written in the
As
agenda.
submitted.
As submitted, yeah, or as submitted.
With
as-
the,
yes.
the.
As is.
Motion to approve PCK 7/2022 at 1295 and 1291 Grandview Avenue as submitted, with subject to the removal of temporary signage, elements of window graphics by 5 PM on Friday, May 27th, 2022.
For a second.
Second.
Commissioner Manzerno,
Yes.
Commissioner Wark,
Yes.
Commissioner Gaskuski,
Yes.
Commissioner Heller,
Yes.
Chairman Henry.
Yes. Very good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I would like to give kudos to Liz. I think that, honestly, had we not connected, and, I mean, this could have been a much different meeting, and I think having somebody like this in the community, really, from a business owner perspective, is amazing. So, she was great to work with, and, by Zoom with some people and so on and so forth, and we were able to come to a middle and a conclusion, and so I just would like to say that. It was great to work with.
It's not too bad.
Thank you as well. Thank you as well. I think once we we're talking.
After the shock wore off.
We lean on her a lot.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Have a safe drive.
Come enjoy the tacos.
Yes, we will. Do so.
Any other